Hi, my name is Cecilia Koger. I am the Director of Exhibitions and Public Programming here at Angels Gate Cultural Center. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for our virtual opening of Sanctuary of the Aftermath. We're very pleased and excited to host this exhibition at Angels Gate Cultural Center, and I'm very grateful to the curators for bringing this very talented group of artists. And also, I'm grateful to all of you for joining us today. Just a few announcements. This event will be recorded, so I just wanted to give you all a heads up that we'll be recording this for future use. And I also wanted to acknowledge that we live and work on the traditional and sacred lands of the Tongva, Kizh, Achamen, and Chumash, and many other indigenous groups who call these grounds home. And Angels Gate honors and extends our gratitude to all of the original people still living in this region. So now I'm going to pass it over to our curators, Jason and Vojislav.
Hi, everyone. So if we've learned anything from this past year from Zoom openings, that it's a very weird thing, and that a lot of people, it's not quite as fabulous as the real deal, being in person with each other, but we do think that it offers a great opportunity to hear the curators and artists discuss their work instead of just watching them get drunk off of cheap wine. So we really are, we encourage you, have some wine at home, maybe wear your pajamas.
We have these.
We're glad that everyone can tune in from wherever they are. And that's kind of an exciting element of the best of both worlds, that we're having this virtual opening right now. And we're really thrilled that in a few weeks that it will be open physically for audiences to enjoy. Vojislav and I curated the show for the purpose of having people see it physically because we felt that it was so important and so needed, this type of exhibition at this moment in time as we're emerging from the pandemic. We're really grateful for this opportunity to present today to you. We want to thank you all for joining us. And we really want to send a special thanks to everyone at Angels Gate Cultural Center. It's been really wonderful to work on this project with them. We're really glad that they selected our proposal, and they've been wonderful making this possible and come to fruition. A special thanks to Executive Director Amy Erickson. A very special thanks for Cecilia and all the months that she has been managing and organizing this. Thanks to Sarah and Carlos, who helped us install the exhibition. And a thank you to Perry for making the virtual version available online that we're going to watch soon.
We would also like to thank to Orit, to Kevin, Phoebe, Beto, Sarah Stone, Liz Gordon for contributing to this show in various ways. And of course, we want to thank to all of the artists who are participating.
So right now, as curators, we're going to walk through the exhibition themes and the works involved. And we're going to show you the virtual tour in a little bit. And then after that, we're going to have an opportunity for all of the artists to talk about their work for a couple minutes. And for the last half hour, we're opening it up to a Q&A. So if at any point in time you have a question or something pops up, you can put it into the chat, and Cecilia will be moderating the Q&A when we're done. So this concept of Sanctuary of the Aftermath began years ago, actually, from a series of conversations between Vojislav and myself. We get to see a lot of art exhibitions, and we talk a lot about what we like, what we want to see more of. We're both visual artists ourselves, and we also have backgrounds in videography and documentation. And that's why we've co-founded the company LA Art Documents. Our mission is to preserve, promote, and to curate the contemporary art scene. And when the pandemic situation occurred, we realized that this was the time to do this show, that it felt really relevant and important.
So as you're all familiar with the title of this show, Sanctuary of the Aftermath, there are those two very important words that comes as opposite to each other, but we really wanted to put them in juxtaposition to actually morely describe what is the process that you can experience walking in the space and like watching all these works. And of course, aftermath is a very strong word. It refers to the actual situation that we are experiencing on a daily basis, including situations like climate change and various environmental disasters we are experiencing, our separation from the nature, different social and political injustice happening, different personal losses, grief, isolation because of COVID-19 situation, different mental problems appears as well. Gun violence is kind of like completely crazy situation, and the fear is all around us. So that's why we wanted to create something that is a sanctuary experience. And the first word in this title is offering that type of a sacred place. And we wanted to also transform the gallery into this sacred place that offers very nurturing element of something that you can grow, you can heal yourself and grow through it. And also this process is visible in each of the works that we're gonna present here. And most of the works actually comes or are inspired with very traumatic events and very traumatic experiences, but all of them, and I'm pretty sure all of the artists will mention what are the reasons why they started some of the works. But what is successful about each of the pieces that you will see in this show is that every artist very successfully managed to transform this traumatic experience into something that is transcendental, something that offers actually that hope or something that is really healing energy. And also some of the artworks also offers a great platform for learning. And that's how we see the whole exhibition, also the place where you can learn.
So we're going to share our screen with you right now and go through this virtual tour for a bit. Hopefully everyone can see this. Oh, we have to start off at the beginning. There's always going to be something that goes wrong in a Zoom meeting. So we're going to start from the beginning. Okay.
So yes, we are
Take
in the first
wheel.
room.
All right. So one of the things that we focused on for this show was we wanted to deal with works that are different than the traditional two-dimensional paintings that you might see in a lot of shows. We selected a lot of works that are installation pieces. We have audio art, we have video art, interactive artworks, and sculptural works. And immediately the first thing that you see when you come up the stairs into the gallery is this massive 26-foot long piece by Alison Riggett called Cross Section Ellipse. And we chose this piece because for many reasons, we're just incredibly impressed by the body of work that Alison has produced. But this work speaks to us on so many levels. It looks on first glance as if something that you were looking at under a microscope, and that it's blown up to massive scale, that it's made out of materials from porcelain ceramics to silicone rubber and contains silk threads. When you're looking at it, it's like looking at flesh and bone and blood. And this idea of this immediately this large scale work that is a visionary experience, that it has an element of magnitude. When you go into a cathedral or a temple or a massive architectural space, you're immediately dwarfed by the experience. And we wanted to do something like that with the artwork itself. And as we've learned from this pandemic, something as small as a virus has completely paused the world and put us in this situation. So in the same thing, this artwork is referencing that. And also what's great about it is it sets up the color scheme of the show and the human connection and the connection to nature. So moving from that piece, the next installation is by Kayla Tange, and she has two pieces that the first piece is this illuminated sandbox, which pulls on the traditions of culture and spiritual traditions of the Tibetan sand mandalas, Japanese Zen gardens, and the childhood memories of playing in a sandbox. And we are hoping that audiences will be able to interact with this. People in past installations have loved drawing whatever they want in the box. There's a rake and a stick provided for that. And we love that luminous nature of the image that emerges from whatever people draw. And then next to it are these suspended sculpture pieces as part of her series, We Both Enjoy the Same Fruit. And it's referencing this idea of different cultures at war with each other, even though they enjoy the same items. Inside these sculpture pieces are dried persimmons. And the use of rope and hair and natural materials, again, is playing with this idea of a combination of synthetic materials and natural materials throughout the entire exhibition, because we live in a culture that is this blend of artificial and natural. Next to that, we have Nika Aquino's installation. It's called a 2020 Reflection, and it also includes a variety of different pieces. But we wanted to include Nika because she deals a lot with memorials and altar pieces, and she made this one specifically for the show. This show includes a lot of new works by the artists, a combination of works that already existed and taking a risk by saying, we know you do great work, create something new. And she did that with this piece. And if we've learned anything from COVID-2, is that television is our altar. It's our place that we go to escape. And she references that in this work with the 2 video pieces. She's paired it with some handmade beaded curtain and pillow. And again, we want audiences to have an opportunity to sit down, to slow down, and to experience the work. Next to that is a speaker that will be playing audio that you can hear throughout the entire exhibition. And that's an original composition made for the show by Joseph Carrillo called 5 Sanctuary Songs. It's something that you will be able to hear everywhere, and it unites the entire gallery experience. We wanted something that is like the spirit of the gallery and that connects all of the pieces. It's the emotional heart to the exhibition. And Joe will be talking about his work, and it's about grief and it's about loss. And we paired the speakers with these burnt branches from the California wildfires as a way to visually reflect the loss that we've experienced through these massive forest fires. And then directly across from that is this sculpture by David Holland. It's called Indra's Net. And Indra was the Hindu god of the heavens, of storms, of rain, of lightning, and war. And David worked many years as an art restoration for Tibetan art. And he has a lot of highly stylized geometric shapes in his sculpture works. And we were really happy to have this piece in the show that reflects a series that he does of houses and the way that he treats the visual image of a home. And this perfectly, we feel, fits the theme of the show because it's all very twisted. And this past year has really twisted our experience of life at home. And yet there are these beautiful glass beads and baubles involved in it. And it connects with the geometric patterns and grids that we find in a lot of the artworks.
So in the second room, but visible from the entrance of the gallery, is the central piece again of the exhibition, which is a circle of abstract rituals. This is experimental film by renowned artist Jeff Frost. And in this film, he's using a lot of time-lapse photography. He uses also stop motion animation. He used wide lenses to actually present something that we would naturally not be able to see. We didn't used to see these things in this way. So his work kind of like embraced technology and offers a bigger picture, something that we can all learn from. Also in his work, in this work, but also in general in his artistic practice, he's very much involved in idea of humanity environment and how much we impact the changes in environment. And this type of like experiments that he's using really offers a really interesting learning process of learning more about our environment and about humanity. Next artwork is installation by Ibuki Kuramochi. This piece is titled Memory of Physicality. And as you can see, if you are familiar with her work, she's a performance artist, usually combining Buto, traditional Buto performance with new media. She's using video art, she's using installations, she's using digital imagery as well. And she's here, she created actually an installation that has two paintings, TV monitor and the big canvas, roll of the canvas, which is painted in this tone to look like a skin. She used also the hair, and it's really interesting element of her work, this chain that actually surround the TV monitor and connect this floor piece together. And this work is about her isolation and also this feeling of self-intimacy, physical isolation and loss. And it's really interesting to see how this work stands as complete opposite to everything that we know about body representation, in particularly female representation in Western art. Next artist who is also having some kind of like physical representation is Rosalind Miles. As you can see in this photo, there are those faces, female faces that are floating above the pile of black eyed peas. They are made of doilies and laces, which is material that is directly a reference to the female identity. And of course, they look like a ghost that are floating above this pile of black eyed peas. And also there is a basket of dried flowers, but it's really interesting that she's using dried flowers from the floral shops. And in floral industry, we are using all sorts of chemicals to preserve the best shape of the flowers, but also we decolorize them. So this is very interesting comment about beauty politics, and also opens a lot of questions. And of course, Black Eyed Peas is a direct commentary about Black culture and Black experience in America. Next work is by
Anita Getzler.
By Anita Getzler. And Anita here has absolutely amazing installation made of rose petals. And in her case, she's actually drying those rose petals in a very natural way. So she's preserving here all these colors of and varieties of these roses. All of these roses comes from her personal family garden, and she's collecting them for almost 7 years. Or even more. And for her, those roses have absolutely tremendous amount of memories. And she's dedicating this piece to the COVID-19 victims. But in the same time, this work kind of reveals a very painful family history in relation to the Holocaust. So in the same time, today we are experiencing the situation when we are hearing on the news just numbers of how many people died, and there are no more identities. And this kind of like really serves as a revival of the memory and beautiful beautiful monument to the COVID-19 and to Holocaust. And also this is a short video documentation that both Jason and I had a great pleasure to create for Anita Getzler, and this is the ritual that she actually offered thousands of rose petals to the Pacific Ocean. This is my own work titled Descent of the Holy Spirit, and it is about broken language and kind of like we really wanted to put our works, this is Jason's work, and we really wanted to place our works at the end of when every artist really chose the place for themselves. And the final piece of the exhibition is again Alison Rigette's 3 pieces that connects the first experience that you have entering the gallery, and when you are leaving the gallery, you again have these 3 pieces.
Yeah, so we're just going to, if you have any questions, thank you everyone. We're going to now, we have to move along, but we want all of the artists to talk about their work. And what we're going to do right now is watch a short 3-minute video that has 3 minutes of the sound piece by Joseph Carrillo, and then he will talk. So I'm going to pull that up right now, share the screen with you again. If you can just make sure that you stay muted and have a listen. So that's a glimpse of the music and the show. I'm going to introduce now Joseph Carrillo. He's originally from Elko, Nevada. He's a composer that specializes in film, television, web series, shorts, and experimental films. He's worked on several works that Vojislav created, and that he's worked on the score of this year's Academy Award nominated and Golden Globe winning film, Minari. So, Joe.
Thank you so much. So I get to kick this off with a light and fluffy topic of grief and loss. when I started to write this piece, it was kind of a personal therapy and an exploration of the grieving process, because I lost my own father in October. And even though his death wasn't COVID related, it's against the backdrop of COVID. And, we're just not able to gather together in the same way that we normally would. And, as I am going through this myself, I'm feeling that, I realize that many people are experiencing grief on this scale for the first time. So I just wanted to try and provide some kind of like a language or a way, some kind of way to support others, or something. So as I was thinking about this, I wrote 5 pieces, each of which are a meditation on the stage of grief, and each piece begins softly with bells and chimes, and kind of like welcomes the listener into kind of a healing space, and then it evolves into an ethereal soundscape with this solo cello over the top of it. And there are 2 other voices as well in there that kind of weave in and around the cello melodies, and that's a bansuri, which is an Indian flute, and the English horn, or cor anglais. And so I wrote Song for the Lost, Song for the Missing, Song for the Wandering, Song for the Forgotten, and it's currently listed as Song for the Found. But as I was thinking about it last night, I was thinking that maybe even a more appropriate title would be Song for the Finding, because the last stage of grief acceptance is kind of more of this ongoing thing. And I think that's sort of what I wanted to explore with this. So I was very fortunate to work with some amazing musicians. The music is performed by Dr. Sarah May Robinson on the bansuri, Phil Popham on English horn, and Dave Mergen, very dear friend of mine, who played the cello, and it's really kind of the heart and soul of this piece. So thanks, Dave. And thanks, Jason and Vojislav, for letting me be part of this.
We're so happy to have you.
And also, audience can experience your work in full length on the website of Angels Gate.
Yeah,
in 3D tour.
That's what's great about the virtual tour, is that you can actually watch all of the videos and listen to all of the music. We of course want people to experience it live, to see the conversations happening between the works, to see the different angles. Next, we want to introduce the artist Kayla Tange. She is a multimedia and performing artist, originally born in Korea and then adopted and raised by Japanese parents. She moved to Los Angeles in 2000. She creates a variety of works that are at the intersection of art making, self-discovery, and survival. She does performance as a burlesque dancer. I have had the pleasure of knowing her through Taylor Mack's show in 2018, and Vojislav has used her in his experimental films. Kayla.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kayla. This show is just so cool to be a part of, so thank you. Yeah, it's just been really amazing seeing how all the work really intersects, and just really has like this through line of grief, which is, I think, what a lot of us are experiencing right now on different levels. A lot of my work, I didn't even realize that was where it was arising from as some of the inspiration. But then I realized that I actually used my art practice and performance to really transform some of that grief. And that's why I do choose different mediums to work with, because I feel like basically intuitively, I just kind of gravitate towards whatever medium I feel needs to release some of these stories. And so the piece with the persimmons is called The Rise and Fall of Decadence. And it came out of research I was doing between Japan and Korea. And I wanted to find a point of, because there was a really complicated history of colonialism, and I wanted to find something that united these two countries, like something that was a place of joy and enjoyment. And I started thinking about how, as a kid, my adopted parents, they used to make a lot of things out of persimmons. And I as I looked into this fruit, I realized that it is the national fruit of Japan, and it's kind of the unofficial national fruit of Korea. So that came out of an experiment um, to create these sculptures. And then the sandbox, it was originally called Intentions, and it was a installation with music and scent. So I renamed it Adapted Intentions for this, and it was created by myself and my partner, Kevin Kane. So I'm really happy to have this included in this show. So I hope that everyone can interact with it. The original intention of it was to write the intentions in the sand, and as kind of like a way of, putting it out there into the world. And hopefully everyone will be able to do that in the future. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a really, I mean, it's amazing to watch the last exhibition that we had it at. People were returning to the gallery just to experience that Intentions. The next artist to introduce is Rosalind Miles. She is a mixed media artist and a Los Angeles native. She attended Mill College in Oakland, spent several years at California State University Dominguez Hills, and completed her master's degree in fine arts at the California College of Arts. Rosalind, tell us about your work.
Hi. Yes, this is really an exciting show, and I feel very honored to be a part of a group that is it's just so beautiful, you guys. It looks wonderful, right? You've got to be proud of yourselves, yeah? It does. So that piece, I feel that you trusted me to make something for the show, and I'm really glad you gave me that opportunity. I was thinking and have been thinking and working on images and feelings about loss, about grief, but not just the dark images of death, but also something I learned when I was researching some work down south. My family's from the South, but I'm born and raised here. But when I went down to New Orleans after Katrina, and then I went back years later for P4, and I keep being very drawn to how they celebrate death with a lightness. It's still what it is, but the music that goes with it, the colors that they wear, it's more of a party when they celebrate a loss. And it just is a different way of looking at losing someone. And they've lost so much down there. They've lost their homes, they've lost their families, they've lost several family members in some respects. And that was what I was thinking about when I worked on this piece. I always want to incorporate women's work. That's just my signature thing. I want to, and so using the lace material was just came easy to me. I wanted to do something with doilies and their beauty and their lightness, and making the masks that are, sort of representational of death masks, but also representational that they're floating and that they're free. So I was trying to bring those two stories together. And the Black Eyed Peas, I love, Black Eyed Peas are so representational of the South, of food, of nourishment, and the colors. Literally the colors of Black Eyed Peas are so beautiful. When they're raw and dried. And the dried flowers in the basket, again, was a call to the South, and the beauty of weeds and not necessarily everything having to be beautiful, glorious, but weeds, literally weeds. And this object that maybe was left in a backyard or in a graveyard, and then the plants just took it over, and that's rebirth again. So that's where I was coming from. And that's why I kind of titled it Pieces of Us. And that's it.
No, it fits so wonderfully with the show, and I love the conversation that it's happening with that whole background.
Absolutely, there are so many conversations.
So next, we're going to watch a short section of the video part of Ibuki Kuramochi's installation. So I'm going to pull that up and share the screen. Bear with me a second. Let's see, where did we go here? Did we lose it? There we go. Okay, Ibuki Kuramochi is a painter and multimedia artist originally from Japan who specializes in live performance, combining painting and Buto training. Where she was born, she traveled and performed around the world and has been doing some amazing work in Los Angeles since 2019. Ibuki.
Hello everyone, I'm Ibuki Kuramochi. This is a great honor to be a part of this amazing show. I want to say thank you to curators Jason and Vojislav. My work, The Memory of Physicality and the Pandemic are deeply related. Since last year's pandemic, I've been creating video works which relate to physicality almost every day like a diary. I did this to prevent the loss of my physicality, contrary to the world where the internet becomes everything. However, tools such as the internet and the SNS are indispensable to our lives. This work was born from the act of reaffirming the physicality of the living body in the digital world. The body that appears in the image becomes liquid, melts, and transforms. Quoted from the poem of the German poet Novalis in the statement, "The seat of the soul is where the inner and outer worlds meet. Where the inner and outer worlds permeate, every path that permeates becomes the throne of the soul." I feel that points to the scene where spirituality, body, and skin intersect. This, where the inner world and the outer world meet, has a dualistic common relationship between the skin and the environment, or between the digital screen and the environment, and between inorganic and organic substances. All the hair used in this work is human hair and is the only organic substance. The image printed on the canvas is a collage of the body, and the sculpture connected below is made of canvas, acrylic, and hair. I used to make paintings about the bodies on canvas, but in this work, the canvas became a copy of my physicality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ibuki.
Thank you so much.
We love that the conversations that are happening between the pieces, the hair and the skin, just, there are many things that just magically happened and work together so well. So next we're going to watch a short video clip by the artist Jeff Frost from his Circle of Abstract Ritual. I'm going to share the screen again, and here we go. Again, to watch all of these works in the virtual tour, but stop it. Jeff is a time and sound artist. He's known for making stunning films that blend painting, time-lapse photography, installation and soundscapes, exploring creation and destruction. He's exhibited at museums all over and won numerous film awards. Jeff Frost, your turn.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Jason and Vojislav. It's really cool to be involved in these shows, and I'm glad there's a way to do it. I cannot wait till it actually opens up and I can see all these other works in person. I really want to see the stuff. And so I would say that my mediums really are time and sound, and they express themselves through a number of sub-mediums such as paint and film and photography and music and sound design. And I find that by altering time, it's an indirect way to try to get to know it, to ask unknowable questions, even though I know I'll never get an answer, and connect with the awe of the universe. So I find that probably because I was raised very religiously, I've got a lot of artwork that kind of always falls on a creation destruction spectrum. It's like that sort of apocalyptic, the world's ending kind of thing. And so Circle of Abstract Ritual was really a turning point for me as an artist. I finished it in 2013 and released it online in 2014. It's probably one of the only reasons that I'm even, speaking with all of you now, that I went nomadic to finish it for 3 years. It was 300,000 photographs that it took me to shoot. And it's, I think, like a film that really explores this idea of, well, I wanted to invent a completely agnostic ritual, something that had absolutely zero belief attached because of that, religion that I left as a child, which was, had beliefs in it that were frankly awful. So, it needed to go. But yet, as I was an adult, I found that like there's kind of this hole where rituals and rites of passages used to exist, and I can't really get on board with a lot of spiritual teachings in a lot of ways, but I still felt this like need for this ritual. And so I invented the actual circle of abstract rituals where the trees are going around, and I just wanted to see if it would fill that need in me. And I also wanted to make something that people could go and do, and they didn't have, you could believe in anything you wanted. You didn't have to believe in anything at all. You could be a hardcore atheist. None of any of that mattered. There's zero dogma attached to any of it. And, I'm a very sciencey person. I require evidence for everything. And I got to say that we all had very weird, unexplainable experiences making that. And this was very common. And I still can't explain those experiences whatsoever, but I was shocked at how well inventing this ritual worked. And so I hope that you get a chance to see the full film, and thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Next, we'd like to hear from Alison Reguette. She is a sculptor and ceramicist. She studied at Goldsmiths College, University of London in England, received her BFA from Concordia in Montreal, and has an MFA from the California College of the Arts, San Francisco. She's currently the professor of art at California State University, San Bernardino, and she just opened on Thursday a solo exhibition at Mount San Antonio College in Walnut. Alison.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. And wow, Jeff Ross, agnostic ritual. I'm going to be thinking about that. That's a really, really inspiring idea. Yes, well, thank you for having me. My piece, Cross-Sectional Ellipse, is inspired by biological cross-sections that cannot be seen by the human eye. And I've superimposed them to large scales. This one in particular is 26 feet wide. You have to walk down the wall to understand it. And thank you for that video footage. It really shows off the work well, because of course all this silicone rubber is translucent. And so the way in which the light bounces off it, but also through it, and if it's around daylight, the artwork changes as the sun kind of passes around it. So I think that helped a lot. Thank you for that. So my intention is to overwhelm the viewer with visceral empathy, this idea that this body feels something for the world, and to really contemplate humanity's relationship with nature. Since COVID, my work has gained more of a context, I would say. It reconciles with the transitional space between anxiety and optimism, surrender and control, and chaos and solace. It attempts to examine our proximity to the world and reconcile with our interconnection to nature. And proposing that the contemporary world is beyond human control, my intention is to elicit full engagement, even just a momentary sensation of bathing in a sublime state of being. This work is made from thrown porcelain, medical grade silicone rubber, and silk thread. And two many disparate materials that come together, hard and soft materials, synthetic and natural materials. And I should also mention that I had a wonderful opportunity to be the resident artist at Puracell Rubber Factory in Corona, California, which gave me access to all these wonderful materials and the ability to produce this work. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And let me say, it's quite a fascinating thing to install, to like carry these pieces that are moving and undulating. And
yes.
Three of us did that, and it was like, wow.
So next up, we're going to hear from the artist David Holland. He's originally from Wisconsin and studied at the Minneapolis College of Art and Design. He now lives and works in downtown Los Angeles. He specializes in transforming ubiquitous materials that include wood, steel, stainless steel cable, and porcelain castings into fantastically geometric shaped sculptural works. And I've had the pleasure of being in performance art groups with David. So David, take it away.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank you two for having a really fantastic show. This is a really hot show, guys. You know, I hope this this gets a lot of coverage. You know, it looks fantastic. My house pieces I see as kind of they're kind of self-portraits, but they're more of kind of like the psychological framework that I exist within, and that. So I wish everybody had seen, or they could see all of these pieces, because there's kind of a continuum of this. It's kind of based on the idea of Trungpa Rinpoche's idea of the insane monkey who's locked inside of a house of his own construction. And this is his version of reality, is how he experiences it. Now, this particular piece, Indra's house, obviously it's a riff on Indra's net. There's something you didn't mention that's, I'm not even sure if I've ever told you this, is that there's a real interesting physical quality to this piece, where if you stick your eye up very close to the marbles, to these glass marbles, and look through them, the distortion of the lens effect allows you to see every other part of the sculpture, and that. So of course it had to be Indra's net, right? I mean, because it's like the piece references itself physically in every little piece of it, and that. I mean, that's like, you know, I mean, that's metaphorical gold right there, you know. So basically, yeah, the holographic qualities of the piece, each small piece reflecting the whole. I noticed that there seems to be a theme here in the idea of loss and the idea of grief in that. And I don't know if I've ever specifically could impart that onto this particular piece, but there is a quietness to it, a kind of intensity about it that I really like. It's one of the few pieces that I will actually turn all the lights off in my house and I'll just stare at it for a while, because it seems to take me places and it seems to allow me to go inside myself in that. And I find it very powerful, and I'm really glad that you guys chose this piece to put it in there and that. So
we're glad it really worked out. You know, just so everyone knows, this wasn't actually our original intention for this piece, but because of the circumstances of the location and the size of the door, we chose this one. But it really works the best, I think, and it's like this lightning rod at the center. You know, the twisted house. So.
And it really offers such a beautiful conversation, because it is the house inside of the middle of the first room. It's kind of like really beautiful place to see that sculpture.
I can see that house like in a Jeff Frost piece. I mean, for some reason, I'm watching his videos and I'm like, oh my God, I'm there, in there, and this is like the house, you know? It's like,
if people do get a chance to see this show physically, I just recommend that you walk around and view the works from different angles, and like you can see through corridors down, you can see, you know, artworks in the far end of the gallery and how it's having a conversation completely on the other side. It's really, we're beyond elated about it.
Bravo, guys.
Yeah, thanks. To move along, Nika Aquino is not here, but we want to mention that she's currently setting up the reopening of Avenue 50 Studio Art Gallery, where she works in Highland Park, and she's preparing for new exhibitions there. We're going to watch now video work of Anita Gessler's Ritual that Vojislav and I filmed, and then she will talk. So we're going to pull this up on our screen, share the screen with you one more time, and enjoy. So that was a 2-minute version that we created for this opening. You can see the full length online. Anita Getzler is originally from Brooklyn. She received her Bachelor of Arts in Sociology with honors from the University of California, Berkeley, and a Master of Arts from California State University, Los Angeles. For many years, she's been the Director of Education Programs at Galleries and for the Guggenheim Hermitage Museum in Las Vegas. Anita. Anita, unmute yourself.
Unmute.
So I want to thank Vojislav and Jason for having the faith in what I was doing and the enthusiasm to film this ceremony. And my friend Orit Harpaz, who photographed it and helped me along with it and support. And also to the LA Choral Lab. The music is just fantastic. And it is the Hebrew Mourner's Kaddish that I had envisioned for the background, and then I came upon the Choral Lab, and they're fantastic. And their director, artistic director, is Michael Alfera, and the composer is David Merenberg. So it just is like it just rounded the whole thing off and made it so much more meaningful for me. And the whole installation, the video, is really the culmination of a journey that started about 15 years ago. Each part that is hanging on the wall is a piece that I was holding on to, waiting for it to merge together into something. And I didn't know what, so it was a really intuitive process. I collected the printer's drawers over the years. They reminded me of one of my uncles who had survived the concentration camp in Auschwitz because he was a printer and he could work, so he survived. And I had visions of vials putting in there to put in those printer's drawers, but I didn't know exactly what would go into the vials, so I just kept saving these pieces, moving them with me along the way. And in 2013, I took care of my father. I brought him back to his home, and I took care of him, and he had gone through a very traumatic experience, and it altered him, and it was very, very painful. And my mother was already gone, and so I restored her garden, her rose garden at the home, and there were finally I ended up with 11 rose bushes back there, and during the whole process of taking care of him, those roses were my sustenance. I would, cut them, dry them. They would be all over the house. I smelled them, and they really brought me happiness, joy, reminded me of my mother, and reminded me of memories. And it occurred to me at some point that those dried rose petals would go into those vials. And it was going to be a memorial. And then I was invited to this exhibit, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is a global catastrophe, and this piece has to be a memorial to the victims of COVID. So, but it comes with a lot of joy, because if you all take a moment and remember your roses in your life, they have joy, they have memories, they have sorrow, but ultimately they the hundreds, maybe thousands, Vojislav.
Yeah,
Because
there have to be thousands.
what?
Definitely thousands.
Definitely thousands. It evokes that for everyone, it evokes something else. And so it sort of takes the total experience. So I think that's, yeah. And thank you so much for inviting me.
You're so welcome. We knew immediately on that studio visit that it had to be part of the show. So
yeah, thank you.
So I'm just realizing now that we skipped over visually viewing Vojislav in my works, but so I'm going to introduce Vojislav Radovanović, originally from the former Yugoslavia, now Serbia, where he entered art school at a young age, receiving his master's from University of Belgrade Faculty of Fine Arts. He worked in television journalism on several art features, and before moving to Los Angeles in 2017. I'm going to share the screen again so we can actually look at his work while he talks.
Yes, so the title of my work, as I mentioned before, is The Scent of the Holy Spirit. I'm very interested now in this situation that, you know, Jeff Frost mentioned religion, and also Anita's work has some kind of relation to the religion. I personally, I'm not a religious person, but I do consider my artistic practice as a spiritual practice. And I like to use different references from the different religions to maybe just diagnose what I'm talking about. And the scent of the Holy Spirit is actually in Christian mythology, the moment when actually the Holy Spirit comes to the apostles and then inspired them with the flaming tongues to start to speak different languages and then to spread the word of Christianity. What I wanted to say in this work, that we are dealing now with the absolutely broken language when we are talking about all sorts of different problems. And one of the biggest problems that I was never experienced before, even though I'm coming from a very turbulent Balkan region, we had there a lot of things, and I survived a lot of things as individual, as a Serbian. I never was thinking about fires on a scale that I experienced them here. And I become more and more aware of environmental disaster we are facing today and the future people will face. So this work kind of like really talks about this disconnection with nature and disconnection with other humans. And when we want to really learn something from this experience and to prepare ourselves and maybe do something good for environment. This work in the same time is very optimistic and very pessimistic, because you know, it's very ambivalent in that case, in that sense. And you know, Jason and I also had amazing opportunities to exhibit works together in few shows already. And as curators for this show, we kind of like really, you know, thinking about these experiences that we had chances from other curators. And I would love to say that I'm very grateful to Andy Campignoni from the Museum of Lancaster, or like, for example, Susanna Mayer from the El Camino College Gallery, who believes in art and then give them this opportunity to really build their installations and to develop their work. So we kind of like also think about this exhibition as a platform for not only offering something to the audience, but also amazing platform for learning for everybody who is involved in. And personally, I'm seeing my work next to Anita's work, and I'm learning a lot from that. Seeing my work just opposite to the Rosalind's work is just something amazing. And having opportunity to exhibit all the time, many times with Jason, and sharing the space with him, and particularly this work has really good conversation. And maybe you can.
Yeah. So, you know, like he mentioned, this also exhibition came right after our exhibition in El Camino, where we had two installations in the same gallery space. And this is kind of a continuation of that conversation we had, that I'm making these leaf mandalas, and that we're using the same materials. His last piece used jars and stars, but in a completely different way. And I'm using these site-specific leaves that I gathered from the beautiful place of Angel's Gate. If you've never been to Angel's Gate in San Pedro, you have to go to see the show and to walk around the grounds. It's so gorgeous. And most of these leaves come from the area around the gallery. And the idea of a mandala is that it's a world map. It's supposed to represent the world. But again, we're playing with the micro macrocosm. So you have the works of Allison's that blows things up. And similarly, this is showing the whole world in a tiny form, and that it's made out of leaves. They're very fragile. They're dried. I've taken them from, I've kind of removed them from the life cycle, which, I have mixed feelings about. I've added this artificial gold and copper leaf to it. So again, it's playing with this idea of what humanity is doing, this combination of artificial and natural materials. And I'm pinning them to the wall, which is kind of violent, but yet creating these beautiful works as a result. So for me, I'm having this conversation with the site of Angel's Gate. And, I directly created these mandalas were created, basically on the spot. And after we installed the rest of the show, we wanted to make sure all of the artists had artworks and places in the gallery that they felt comfortable with. And then we were like, okay, we're going to figure out where our work goes after everyone else has the spot that they want. And the conversation that it was having with Rosalind's works and the faces, I was looking at her lace and kind of created these two mandalas to be different and to be spirits. And this is a riff on also the riff on Angel's Gate's flames and the flames from Vojislav's work.
But also we kind of like really wanted to respect every artwork to have its own integrity. Like when you're entering the space, you will immediately become aware what art piece occupies which space. They don't interact in a spatial level, and you cannot mix them. But in the same time, through these corridors, and when you're moving through the space, very interesting conversations are happening, and it's really interesting to see our artworks next to each other, but also like going from one room looking at the another work, you also can have like in the same frame eye view unexpected connections, and those connections were really interesting things and the platform to learn.
Yeah. So I know I'm getting very aware of time, that perhaps we have some questions that we can answer, and Cecilia can lead us through that. But
Sure.
Thank you all so much for listening to us.
Thank you. I think that was an amazing overview of the exhibition. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one who got a little bit of the feels during some of that. It was quite a pleasure to listen to. So if anyone has questions, if you're comfortable, please put them in the chat, or if you're comfortable popping up on screen, I think we have the ability to do that. However, I did pull one comment earlier in the chat, and I kind of want to take that comment and turn it into the first question. So I had a comment from Samuel Richardson talking about the poignant spirit throughout the show, which is perfectly timed. So I just would like to question about the timing of this show. And I know when you initially submitted the proposal, it was pre-COVID, before we knew the severity of what our world would look like now. And I'm just curious, in the year and probably year and a half since you developed this proposal and now brought it to fruition with all of these amazing artists, how has the intent and meaning perhaps maybe changed or sort of developed with everything that's been going on?
I think that in the first place, when we started to develop the idea for the concept for the show, it was really already very defined in the sensing the environment that we are living in, and a lot of artworks that we had on a daily basis discussions, because we are quite consumers of art. We are visiting a lot of exhibitions on a monthly basis, and we have a lot of discussions. there is something that is very particular for, I think, LA art scene. So there are a lot of artists who are concerned with what we are experiencing and who actually very well described those feelings and those concerns. And a lot of them actually have an amazing body of works that we really wanted to include. And we have a plan to, oh, we want to go further with the exhibition and to go. I mean, right now we are working on another proposal for another exhibition. But I think when the COVID actually happened, it was just the proof that we are actually working on a right track. So
and it's a living and breathing, you know, there is a spirit to the show, whether you believe in spirituality or not. There is, by putting objects in the same room together, there you create a space. We kind of joke, we heard this art speak about environment creates experience. And
that's a good quote to put in your bio, if you will.
You know, art talk, the environment creates experience. Well, every environment does create the experience. And we wanted to specifically create an experience that was different than what we've seen. It definitely evolved over time. We added more artists than we originally proposed, but we also took what, you know, for me, a leap of faith. I have a background from Rachel Rosenthal in improv, and you sort of just jump out there and you kind of work with things as they come up and adapt. And definitely, you know, the pandemic situation has forced us all, as the world has been turned upside down, to adapt and change and listen. You know, we try to listen to each other and listen to what the artists were bringing forward. We try to have like a hands-off, and yet we're steering the ship and guiding it with a vision, but we're trusting that we're on the right path, if that answers that question.
Yes, thank you. I have another question in the chat from Stephanie Sherwood to the curators. Can you talk more about the color palette and how harmonious the pieces feel in terms of color? You spoke a little bit about those magical conversations that happened between the artworks. I would love to hear more.
Well, sure. You know, it's great to see how the color scheme evolved. And, you know, as artists the new works were being presented, that we noticed that there were these commonalities. And, you know, it's amazing when there was a spirit to this. There's a combination of, we knowingly chose these works that had the color palette in mind, and then to see that everyone was on the same wavelength in many ways. But it very much is this palette of the body, this palette of human organs and our connection with nature, and fire and burning, and the red of the rose petals, the natural materials as they dry out, they take on a different color. They take on this color that is muted, and yet it's still full of a vibrancy. And that's kind of goes along with that sense of loss and grief. Like, the colors are muted. We turn down the lights in most of the gallery space to create an atmosphere.
Yeah, I also think that, you know, we use the term like happy accidents a few times, but it's something that is happening like way deeper. I think that all of the artists are deeply tuned into environment that they are experiencing. And I think that those colors and those palettes come actually from that tuned. Everybody is very connected. Everybody is very articulated and very defined. And that's something that we like about, you know, art in general. When you are standing in front of the art, and then it's so well articulated, it's so well done, and artist is tuned with this energy. You can feel the energy in front of the art. We are big fans of all sorts of art. We like paintings. We like, you know, different mediums. But particularly for this exhibition, we were looking for the artists that are dealing with the specific materials, or that offers, for example, in the work of Jeff Frost, even though he's video artist, he again deals with this environment. Even in his work, the palette is there. You can recognize those colors. So I would say that that comes from artists directly.
Thank you. And then I have a personal question that I'm curious about. My question is about the significance of all of the music and the audio. I mean, this show has several fantastic videos and well, just a sound or musical piece that stands alone by itself. And it really complements and really augments the experience. So I'd like to hear more about your thought process in integrating, you know, the sculpture and the visuals with all of the audio and sound.
Well, at the beginning, we kind of like had the immediately idea that we want to have a soundtrack for the exhibition. And Joseph Corillo is somebody that we have collaborating before on few projects, and we are so in love with his art and how he creates these emotions and energy in his composition. So we really wanted to have immediately the something that will go along with the whole exhibition, something that could be seen as a soundtrack for the exhibition, but also like each of the video artworks has its own you know, audio component that really like tells more story. So
yeah, and normally when you go into a gallery space, it's quiet, and it's kind of, you know, that can be a good thing most of the time, but sometimes it's like we wanted to have a spirit and a voice, a presence throughout it. And then, you know, often when you go into a holy space, there is some form of music or chanting or whatnot. And we wanted to make sure that there was a sense of aliveness through it all. And all of the video works have strong audio components to it. So, you know, we had this unifying music of Joe, and then, you know, each piece we hope that everyone gets the opportunity to listen to individually as well.
Great, thank you. I have one more comment and then I think time for one more question. So a comment from Robert Patrick, playwright. As a mere verbal artist with a tiny vocabulary available, I am amazed by the ruthlessness with which visual workers choose your fabric and forms from the infinite resources available to you. I thought some common factors: science fiction, surrealism, desolation, and reverberations of religion, as much in its absence as in its presence. Thank you for that really great comment. And I do have another a minute for another question. Curious about the fascinating title of the show. At what point did you arrive at the title, before, during, or after putting the works together? Terrific preview today. Thanks for holding this event.
Well, thanks so much. Actually, it originally started as the title of a piece that Vojislav, it was going to be the title of one of his installations. And, you know, it was something that was kind of out there. We discussed, you know, the words. For me, you know, growing up as a child of the 80s, aftermath, you know, the nuclear holocaust that loomed over us as a child. So the aftermath was this heavy thing, but also tied into, you know, everything that we're experiencing with environmental disasters and climate crisis and social, political, and civil rights issues. It's like we're in this looming situation, but Sanctuary, you know, we wanted to create a beautiful experience. For us, you know, as artists, we are advocates for beauty, that we like to say. We believe that beauty is important in art, and a lot of contemporary art tries to destroy beauty in some ways, not all, because contemporary art's huge.
Redefine the beauty.
Yeah. So we try to find beauty in different ways and different things that we do, and we wanted to bring that out particularly. It just felt really right for this time.
Yeah, I think the Sanctuary is also the energy that as a first association people should be you know, feeling. That's the safe place. That's what we needed, definitely.
Great. Well, thank you. That was a great concluding question. Now I wanted to give, last 2 minutes if you all had anything else you wanted to add, Jason and Vojislav, or if you're feeling pretty great about.
Any other artist who has something they want to say, I think is.
Yes, I think we have a few minutes if any of the other artists would like to chime in or offer their comments.
I have one thing to say. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. When someone was talking about the color thread, one reason I think that the colors came through is that because everyone's working, so much of the work has to do with the human body. And there's only so many tones in the human body. And that's why I thought maybe there was a big thread, because so much of it is blood, skin, hair,
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. I mean, we've been living in these bodies in isolation and like not having physical contact. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really great point, Rosalind. And, I also wanted to give a moment. I know we have one of our artists actually has another performance, an art event. Kayla, did you want to chime in, and maybe if you have the link ready, if not, we can share one after the fact about your event later tonight.
Sure, I can share it in the chat. Yes, Stephanie's gonna be there tonight. Also, Ibuki has performed with us a few times, and it's been really wonderful to have her on. It's an Asian focused online performance show, and we seek to heal through ritual and performance. So it's actually pretty connected thematically to the sanctuary of the aftermath show, as we're all seeking to heal in various ways that feel right to us. So yeah, we just me and my co-producer Wayne Newton created this space about 6 months into the pandemic, when we realized that quickly we just needed a space immediately to have some of these conversations. So let me put that into the chat.
Yeah, and yeah, the title very much, Sacred Wounds, could be, a secondary title for Sanctuary.
It's definitely having a conversation with the show, which is pretty great. So yeah, thank you for let me speak about that for a minute, and thanks everyone for coming today.
Well, thank you. I just want to express my gratitude to the curators and the artists at Angels Gate Cultural Center. It's really important that we provide a platform for artists who are here in LA and in San Pedro. And this is a fantastic show. Just so everyone knows, this will be the show that we finally reopen to the public with after being closed for a little over a year now. So we're very excited about that. We plan to release appointments to view the galleries to the public at the end of this month. So if you are not on our newsletter, you can subscribe to our newsletter at angelsgateart.org. And just another heads up, we have some more excellent programming coming on Thursday, April 22nd from 7 to 8 p.m. We have another opening virtually of our show Readaptations, which features artists who actually are making art at Angels Gate Cultural Center. And it again has a very similar theme that talks about processing what's happening now. And it comes from the perspective of our many talented artists who actually have a studio at Angels Gate Cultural Center. There is a link in the chat to our Eventbrite. I'm going to put it again so it's at the bottom. Next Saturday, we also have another free public event, Family Art Workshops. We have them every month, third Saturday of the month, and we have it from 1 to 3 p.m. It's a family-friendly live workshop on Zoom. And we've been holding them for a while now. And if you have young kids, or you don't even have to have kids, we also have just adults join us as well. That is a free event happening next week. And the link to sign up for that is also in our Eventbrite. So I just want to take this moment to, again, thank the curators and the artists. This was an amazing opening. Please sign up on our newsletter to actually come again and see the event in person. Oh, one more event I forgot to mention. In May, We Rise is an LA County initiative to bring mental health awareness to the residents of LA County. And we will be having another event that's also related to Sanctuary of the Aftermath. It's going to be called Healing Centered Art, Many Paths to Wellness. We will be featuring a professional art therapists, and we'll also be inviting our curators to sit on a panel and talk about how art can provide healing. And that event is coming May 26th. We don't have a link to that event yet, but if you're on our newsletter or go to our website, you'll see more information about that as well. So thank you everyone very much for joining us. I think someone had their hand up. Did you want to jump in with a quick comment? I believe that was Jeff.
Oh, I think he was in solidarity of like, yes.
Oh, it wasn't a raised hand. Okay.
I was waving goodbye to people who were
okay.
saying
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Thanks again for everyone for joining us this afternoon. You know, we live in very strange times, and we hope that this has been an offering of some sort for you all.
Thank you all.
Great. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you.
Goodbye.